Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Things are a little different right now. We're trying to get into a different rhythm with our old man, our strong, silent one. Goofy, our goofball being on the other side of the veil, and it's a first for me. I've never lost a dog. I wasn't really allowed to have them as a child. And so, yeah, when my dad died, I just started getting dogs. Anyways, thank you guys for your kind words. I appreciate them. And those of you that pray, I appreciate those as well. Can't wait to hear about this. Awesome. Well, let me hope I do it justice because this gets weird. Let's get the disclaimers out of the way. I am not a professional of any kind anymore. The only thing or person I am an authority over is myself at this point. You can choose to believe and accept and receive the information that I present to you, or you can accept to reject it. But at this point, you cannot say that you weren't warned or that somebody wasn't trying to speak up about certain things in this realm. We each have our niche, it seems. We really are each a part of the full body of Christ, of God. And it's pretty amazing to see that unfold for people. So for those of you whose channels I am also subscribed to, we may be a small family, but we are a mighty family. And for that, I'm actually glad that I wiped out the old content because we were kind of able to start fresh in that way. Now, we've looked at all these topics before in a superficial way, but let me just say how weird this is. I share my personal story. I leave out as many personal details as possible. I do not use names or exact locations, even though people try to dox me instead of actually helping me and sending me a private email saying, hey, your house number was shown in your last video. I thought maybe I'd give you a heads up. That's real help. Exposing people online. And I say we, right? And I say we to make it more unified and more of a community for mankind as a whole. And so that no one is blamed alone and no one is glorified alone as man. So I say we. Now, whether you're guilty of this infraction or I am is kind of a moot point. The majority, most of society's gotten very free with airing personal business. I learned that lesson. Social media ruined my life, but I obviously played a big part in that myself. So this is my penance part of it. And yes, I do believe in penance. I'm not going to get into the Catholic debate at this moment because I do believe in some different things than they do. And that's going to soon become glaringly obvious and very apparent. And if I lose subscribers, let me just say that I pray you go in peace. Shalom. And for those of you who want to dig into the roots and who are willing to listen to truth or seek truth wherever we may find it, let's get started. So this is Enoch. Enoch means to walk with God, and very soon we're also going to do a look at baby names. We're just going to look at names and their meanings because every name in the Bible has a very specific meaning. Yeshua, which is Hebrew. If you said that in English, it would be Joshua. The J would be silent if you were to say it in Latin, Jesu, okay? It's an I instead of a J because, yes, J was not invented yet. And again, these are very superficial and base arguments that some atheists bring at us, and this is not that channel either. I'm not here to be divisive. If you disagree with me, that's fine. That's awesome. Let's have an open dialogue, and hopefully I can learn something. Maybe you will too. Enoch means walk with God. Now, I still have not read the whole book of Enoch. I have my physical copy. Let me see if I can. I have my physical copy here with me. Because I like books. I love books. I'm just a nerd that way. I geek out over books the way most girls do over shoes. Although I like my Chucks, so I can't say that I don't like shoes. Anyways, I had a dream. When you're telling your own personal testimony and story, it can get very bizarre for you. And for me especially, I told you I've been experiencing time backwards for a long while now. I don't mean like Benjamin Button. I don't mean I'm turning into a baby. I mean cause and effect come at me in reverse. And I found out there was a name for that. It's called retro causality. And we were one of the first channels, probably the first channel that started talking about it. And then you saw others like Vanessa and Matt from QOC who started to bring that really to the platform in a big way. And it's so awesome that we could be a part of that. So that gives me chills just thinking about it, how we are all hearing from the same spirit, even though we learn in different ways and we present the information in different ways. So I had become lost to sin. I become lost after my parents died. My dad in 2012 and my mom in 2015. And my go-to was always self-destruct mode. I would do things that hurt me. And I'm only giving you this brief background to lead into the dreams. But in 2017, 2018-ish, I started having some type of awakening. Okay? At first, I didn't recognize it. I did not know what it was. But I will say it stung. It like physically stung. You know how when you do something as a child and you know it's wrong and your cheeks get red and you get that flush feeling? Like I started getting stung every time I did something wrong. And that's how God woke my conscience back up, because I had started going to sleep. Even though I was raised in the truth, I had started going to sleep. And I hadn't been to church in many years, and I had no spiritual fellowship at that point. My life was all work to support my family. And that's what I did. I worked and I learned and I tried to do a good job, and I was spread very thin. And after my dad died, and then after my mom died, things started happening. So I'm going to tell you about this dream briefly. I will post the link where I talk about it. I wish I had those original videos. Unfortunately, the Berean Jen channel, when I wiped the content clean, certain videos were not saved that should have been saved. I remember the shirt I was wearing. I knew that I did the video in my prayer closet. I was still sleeping in my closet at that point. That's how traumatic this has all been for me. And anyone who would use this moment or use that information against me just shows what a coward that they are. So moving on. I had this dream, and I talked about it at the very beginning of the channel. That's what made me start talking. Have you considered linking your channel to Odyssey? It automatically backs up all your videos to blockchain. No, I'd never thought of that. I don't know how I feel about blockchain, and I don't know how I feel about crypto. I don't like, we did a brief word study on crypto. I don't like that the word crypt is in there. Again, it's all death, but we're going to talk about that from a kind of a semi-Gnostic standpoint, and I hope that I don't lose you guys when we do that. But that is a good idea, and I have looked into Odyssey. I deal with a lot of decentralized storage. Right. I was just saying, like, those types of technology, I honestly have not really personally interacted with, I guess is the proper way to say that. You're a programmer, so I am way behind you, so please excuse my ignorance when it comes to the verbiage that I use in that area of technology. But I have not tried that yet. I'm dealing, and again, anyone who's watched this for a long time, I'm dealing with a lot of sabotage in my accounts, in my life. I'm being kind of kept in this area. I don't even know, like at this point, they could have told my family, the family I have left in PA, that I died, and I wouldn't even know it. You know about the internet. I have a high suspicion that I'm like in some type of intranet, and I don't even get out of my own town as far as when I try to privately message with people and interact with people. Things like this, I actually feel like more people than I'm aware of see this because of how gaslighted and whatnot I am about it. People will say things that I've said in my videos. People that I don't know will know things about me that I've never told them that maybe I've mentioned on the channel. So, my whole life has taken on this very Truman-esque aspect. I did a whole series of Truman videos. Those ones are gone too. Everything else was backed up in Google. Small videos, screenshot videos, but the videos of me with my physical appearance and telling of my testimony, those are the ones that are gone. So you don't have to believe me, but this is the order of events. So I had this dream in 2017, and I just the other day, I went back to the book of Enoch. Yes, redundancy is definitely good to counter that sabotage. The problem is the devices that I'm using and the household that I'm in. I do not and cannot trust, and we'll get into that briefly when I tell you guys about this dream. So the first dream that I had, and the first two kind of mesh together. I have a hard time distinguishing because you don't remember these things right away. I thought it was a dream, but the more time that passes, the more I remember, and the more it feels like an actual encounter. And when I woke up from said dream, I had physical, and I'll get into that, I had physical alterations that proved to me it wasn't a dream. Okay, so real quick, I had the dream way back 2017, 2018. Just now open the book of Enoch because I do a lot of cross-referencing right now when it comes to religious texts. I don't really read a full book at a time, and you kind of can't, especially if you're trying to create a timeline. I've got probably, no kidding, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books in front of me, and 3 of them are compendiums, which means they have several books inside of them. And those are the ones that are out that I'm using right now. That doesn't count like all the other books that I have. So I just now opened the book of Enoch back up. And towards the end, because I was interested in prophecy, I wanted to see if it had any tells about our current events. I found a verse that shook me, and I never use that phrase. I don't get shook anymore. I'm not afraid of anything. They're kind of upset, I think, about that they can't manipulate me through fear anymore because they traumatize me too much. I'm literally not afraid of anything. Am I sad that my dog is gone? Absolutely. But am I afraid of things like that? No, I'm not afraid of them. And I have to take care of my little Yorkie here because he's missing his buddy. So he's just going to follow me around. I apologize. I am not a star. I'm not an actor. I'm not a big name YouTuber. I'm not here to push an agenda. I'm here to share and to learn and to hopefully put these pieces together. So the first dream I was laying in a recliner, and it was an afternoon nap. I had pretty much just got taken off of work for a couple herniated discs, and they were doing other tests. I was diagnosed with fibro at that time, and there are a couple abnormalities when it comes to my blood, and I'm not getting into that. It's personal, but it does have a lot to do with why I am searching for certain things myself. So I had this dream. I was laying in my recliner, and in this quote-unquote dream, and I know now that it was more like a twilight state, and if you've had any type of dental work done or any type of non-invasive surgery, on twilight is when they put you to sleep, but you can't move, so you won't like hit at their hands if they're operating or cutting you, you know what I mean? They have to have you awake to be able to answer questions, but you're paralyzed. And I did a video talking about, and this one was just about a month ago, talking about and comparing alien abductions and sleep paralysis to anesthesia. And that's what I believe is happening. I believe, quote unquote, these fallen ones, they may be older than us, but at this point in time, a lot of the technology and a lot of the medical terminology, there's just a lot of knowledge being passed, and their own technology is working against them in that way. And I brought a word from God. Some of you should remember talking about how their technology would be used against them. So you have to understand, to see all these things start to happen is very surreal. I can see how some Gnostics would fall into that headspace of quote unquote, I am God, like where they think they're literal God. But I haven't made myself, right? I didn't create myself. So I know I have to be just in tune with some type of telepathy. The other thing that's interesting is a lot of folks, after experiences and encounters like this, will have an increase in some type of psychic awareness. Here, buddy, I'll open the door for you. Go ahead. There you go. So I'm laying in this recliner. It's the middle of the afternoon. It's hot, right? It's a really hot summer, 2017, 2018, 2019. Well, 2018 and 19 really were like it is now. They were very hot summers. So I was kind of restless, and I look over, but mind you, I'm laying there sleeping, dreaming. I don't know what's going on. And people enter my house, 4 or 5 of them. And in these encounters, they always look like bobbleheads. I don't know if they're wearing masks. I don't know if it's a disguise. And by disguise, I mean somebody implanting a thought so that I don't recognize these beings, or if they literally bop around like that, like if they move differently so they appear that way to me. I know that Sasquatch has been rumored to move in and out of the realms, and at times he has been seen to do something akin to dancing. What it actually is, and again, don't ask me how I know some of these things. I'm not going to get into all that right now. What it actually is he's in a different time space. So you're seeing him move jerky and whatnot because his time literally is different than the time space we're in. I think that's the difference between heaven, hell, earth, purgatory, is just time space. I think they're all here with us. And if you are tapped in, and if you take certain physical measures, because yes, the body is a part of the soul. Soul is the trifecta. It's the body, spirit, and mind all together. That is the soul. And we have forgotten that over time as well. And I'm sorry I babble, but maybe you're learning something if anyone's still here. So I had this dream, and I'm laying there, and these things come walking through the door, and the one, and I told you guys this in the original video, the one that starts interacting with me, he looks gray. He looks like how they describe a gray. His skin looks gray. Thank you. His skin looks gray and pasty. And he has what looks like to be white dreads. And if I had to assign him a character or whatever, he would be a cross between Mr. Frost and Mr. Burns is kind of what he looked like, and Gollum. And I've always thought that hell was cold. Put that on the back burner in your mind for a second, because we'll go after. I will prove that that's true after I tell you about this dream. This video is all about proof and evidence. Again, you don't have to believe me, but after this, if something doesn't click for you, you can't say that somebody wasn't trying to help you see. So they come up to me, and I'm in this recliner still, and I can't move, and the bobbly headed, the skinny Dr. Mr. Frost looking guy, he picks up my hand, and I'm like, ow, your hand is cold. And I try to pull it away, and he tells me that's because I am of the fallen. And I didn't know what that meant. I hadn't read the book of Enoch yet. I didn't even start reading the Bible yet at that time. I had started watching some of Trey Smith's videos, but I hadn't, knowingly, I didn't have any information about these fallen angels. Remember, when I was coming up in Catholic school, that was taboo. This was a topic not spoken of, and we were even told not to read the Bible ourselves. So extra canonical books, Apocrypha even, were not accepted. They were not allowed to be spoken of, or you'd be called a heretic. You'd be labeled a heretic and excommunicated. Sorry, I had to get a sip. So he picks up my hand, and mind you, I still can't move. I'm laying in this recliner, and he pokes me. He puts something in my arm. And for whatever reason, this is where it gets blurred a little bit. Then the couch is on the other wall. And I remember that summer, my spouse is always moving furniture. He used to always move furniture. He was very clean and organized and neat that way. And so he was constantly doing this. I'd always joke, I'd wake up in the morning and not know where I was because everything was different. It's not like that anymore. But anyways, so these other beings are kind of just like bouncing behind him, goofing off, laughing, like doing whatever it is they do. I don't know. It's kind of, again, it's hazy. But this one, I tried to pull my hand away, and I did not want him touching me, and I did not want to answer these questions. What I relate this to is like sodium pentothal or truth serum. It's like something was stuck in me, and I started to be asked these questions, and they were trying to pull something out of me that even I did not know yet. And again, this is a dream, or I think it is. I don't know how I knew this. I just knew it, right? In dreams, you just know things. And I knew that this information I couldn't give them. Now, I've had that feeling since I was a kid that I was here to do something, but I didn't know what it was yet. I had forgotten it. And I wasn't going to know until it was that time, because I do have a tendency to share a lot. And of course, God would know this. So I'm on a need to know basis. God doesn't reveal something to me until it's time for me to reveal it, because that's what I do. It's just always been my way. I don't have a filter. Maybe people today would label me with Asperger's or something like that. But I don't have a filter. Things just, I'm very honest that way. Things just come out. That's why I don't try to keep secrets. Can I keep secrets for a person or a friend? Absolutely. If they share something in confidence, or something happens, and I'll share. I'll keep that for them. But I'm speaking of just truth, of like injustice and standing up in the face of injustice and that type of truth. I apologize. My dogs are a little restless because they're missing their friend. So in the middle of this happening, I start to pull away from him. And suddenly, the roof of the place I'm living at that time, it's only 2 roads away now, the roof opens up. And there's no trees in the area, so this could actually like be a literal thing. For whatever reason, I go through the roof. The chair raises up like a barber chair or a dentist chair, and I go through the roof. And suddenly, I'm above the house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall. But I don't actually fall, right? And the ground opens up. There's this big chasm, and it opens up, and there's a giant shaking. The earth is shaking. There's a giant chasm, and I'm like, oh my God, there's an earthquake on the East Coast. Again, I don't know how this came to me. It just did in the dream. And this is all happening pretty quickly. And suddenly, it changes a little bit, and the next recollection I have are these other beings. And again, I can't tell you what they look like. All I know is that there's this soft blue glow, and it's warm, okay? That's the big difference between these beings. Some of them give you a literal warm feeling. Like right now, my best friend died, so I can't get warm. I'm shivering. I got goosebumps. I'm just cold to my soul, right? The fallen one, when he touched me, he was so cold. Like it went through me. Like his touch and his presence did something to me. It repulsed me. And I actually think that has a lot to do with my fibro. But once I was up above the house and I'm in this other, I don't want to say UFO because I don't know what it was. Let's just say I'm in the sky or something. I don't know. But I'm still in this chair. And these guys are looking for something, and they find whatever it is they're looking for. I think it's a seal. I could swear that's what they were doing. And I said, no, I have to go back. I have to go back. I have to be with my family. And they said, well, what do we do? And they said, well, it's her decision. And so I woke up. And I was sent back here. And they said something about it not being time yet. They didn't take anything out of me. They found what they were looking for inside of me. They didn't take it out. And they said, that it wasn't time yet. Things would happen. I would know when it was time or whatever. These are things not said. You just know them. So then I wake up. I'm in this recliner still because that's where I fell asleep, was in my couch had recliners in it. It was my grandma's couch. And I love that thing because of my back problems. It was really easy for me to just lay and rest. And I wake up. Now, this is the first thing that started to tip me off to it being a real encounter. But please understand, when you grow up the way I did, you develop certain survival tactics. And I didn't look at this information at that time. I could not look at it, and I pushed it away from me. And I'm still doing that with certain things to this day. But now I'm seeing these things happen and these things proving out, and I'm seeing proof and evidence of the predictions and the words that I believe God gave to me in prayer for the last 4 years, and they're starting to come to fruition. So you have to understand how weird this is for me. I'm not doing this for attention, because the attention I would get would be negative. I know that. I'm not some big YouTuber with a big channel or a mega church behind me. I'm just a regular girl who's messed up a whole lot and sinned a whole lot, whether ignorantly or not. So I wake up, and I'm going to be as delicate with this as possible, so pay attention to the words I'm using. It was a certain lunar cycle, monthly cycle, lunar feminine cycle, so that at that time, I had a certain medical device within me because of the lunar cycle of the month for a female. I had this certain apparatus that I was using at that moment. So I wake up from my nap. I go upstairs to use the facilities, the powder room ladies, and this said device is gone. It didn't fall out. It's not in my pants. It's not anywhere. It's just gone. And for like a week, I kind of freaked out. I'm like, what if this thing gives me an illness? What if it hurts me because it's lost somewhere inside of my body? That's how I know. And I was as delicate as possible with that. I apologize if it came off crude. I didn't know how else to say it. That's how I know that this was not just a dream. Dang, did you get a CAT scan? At that time, no, not for any, I wasn't having any neurological issues. As far as I knew when I woke up, it was a dream. Again, you put things aside, like your psyche, your subconscious will put a wall up, and it will compartmentalize things for you until it's ready to face them. And that's why I do believe in destiny and fate. Everything that's meant to happen is going to happen. Yes, we have the free will to decide that. But all time is happening at all times, so it's already written, and on it goes. And again, that's where things get really woo-woo. But I knew it was a real encounter because this thing was missing from inside of me. And for the next, mind you, couple of months, because this was 2018, when I went to Florida in 2018, and we can Google this if you don't believe me. I didn't know this. Again, at the time, I was not aware of this. But I went to Florida. It was a very strange trip. We got there a lot quicker than I thought we should. Got home a lot faster than I thought we should. I have not left the county since then. Like, as far as I know, the world ain't no bigger than, my town, because I've not went anywhere. And that can do strange things to you. You can start to, that echo chamber, which is why, I do things to socialize myself. And, I read a ton, and I exercise and do all these healthy things in nature that are supposed to induce a zen-like state of mind so that you don't develop strange tics from being alone a lot. Anyways, once I went to Florida, something happened on the beach there. And I can't even describe that right now because it's not totally related. But in some way it's related, but not, yeah, I don't know. It's another story. But I found out that when I was in Florida, um, the ocean had turned red. They say it was from some type of bacteria. Where I went in Florida was called Lucy, named after St. Lucy, but we know Lucy is also short for Lucifer. They like to use that in the movies. It was a very strange visit. I don't know if I'd ever go back to Florida ever again. I've told you guys to avoid it, especially right now. And look what happened. And again, and there's a video, I think, back on the channel. I reposted it. But I do have the original date posted with it. And I tell you that God told me, there are certain states we are to avoid right now. And Florida was one of them. So it was a very strange trip. I had a very strange encounter outside of the hotel I was staying at. Went outside to smoke, and I think he was from Nigeria. They had a bus, and they were here, I guess, just working as laborers on highways and whatnot. But this chocolate-colored man started walking around the building, and we were talking, and he was smoking with me. And I just love talking to different people, new people. I love cultures, learning new cultures. And he started telling me about how I was his wife and that I had died in a truck in a mudslide. Chocolate man. Yes, he was. He was chocolate. And he said that I was his wife and I had died in the truck in this mudslide. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is bizarre. Right? I can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere without some strange thing happening. Okay, so back to the dream. What did I tell you? Number one, I told you that to me, hell would be cold. Why did I say hell would be cold? Because number one, God is a consuming fire. You get warm inside. They say you get the warm fuzzies. These sayings that we have them for a reason. Stereotypes exist for a reason, though they're not always true. They exist because a pattern has been shown to happen. So I believe that hell is cold. Why do I believe hell is cold? Well, there's a few reasons. The abyss. They're going to get thrown into the abyss where there is no God, totally separated from God. There would be no light. When there's no light, it's dark, dank, and cold. That's where the worms like to dwell. Worm, serpent, Satan. It just all fits for me. And then if you look, I do believe these are all real places too, and we're going to get into all that because I believe the Bible is also a map, and that's one aspect we have not checked out yet. But I believe it's true, and I think I can prove it. And I don't think I know it. This is God. I'm not a scholar. I'm an autodidactic. I've totally educated myself as much as possible. I have an associate's degree. I'm not dumb, and I'm diverse. Map or schematic? Aren't those the same thing, though? Hold that thought. Let me get back to this real quick. So if you look at actual places, where are they always going? Where are these politicians always going? Where are these deceivers always going? The guys who are in the One Eye Club. They're always going to Antarctica. And we're always hearing about an ice wall and about how God separated the fallen from mankind. The fallen are in a place called Tartar, at Tartarus. And what do all these mud flooders talk about now? Tartaria. Tartaria is not a good place, guys. That's where the fallen angels were. And while they might be amazing architects and they might be super knowledgeable and older and ancient than us, they do not have good designs for us, not the fallen, evil, wicked ones. So on and on it goes, right? I'm putting all these things together over time, and you guys have seen all that, and you've been a part of it, and you guys have helped. So this is the books of Enoch, and I'm going to switch here so I can again prove this out. Let me give you a real quick summation. Now, there are 3 books of Enoch, okay? They are called, because I have the compendium here, The books of Enoch, complete edition, including one Enoch, which are the Ethiopian book of Enoch, two Enoch, which is the Slavonic secrets of Enoch, and three Enoch, which is the Hebrew book of Enoch. These books were found at different times in different places, but they are all about Enoch, the man who walked with God, okay? I'm not going to give you a whole history. Most of you guys know these things, especially on this channel, but I want to show you. Oh, shoot, where'd it go? Hold, please. Sorry if this is... Where'd you guys do that? Okay, it left. It was highlighted, and I wanted to show you that highlight. Will it highlight it again if I go back? This book right here, is it there? No. It tells you here, and I can connect this for you, that it was included and it was removed from canon because of the prophecies about Christ. Enoch was a part of it came from a Jewish book. That's the history, is it came from a Jewish book, okay? The book of Enoch was considered a scripture in the epistle of Barnabas and by many of the early church fathers, such as Athenagoras, Clement of Alexandria, Irenaeus, and Tertullian, who wrote circa 200 that the book of Enoch had been rejected by the Jews because it purportedly contained prophecies pertaining to Christ. And here again is the LDS Church, which I have another video to do about them. I told you guys I've been talking about this, but I was raised in Catholicism. God told me to go out to every church in the area, about how the Mormons kind of wouldn't leave me alone. I think they're combining those two theologies. And I just said probably 2 weeks ago in a live stream, me and Denise started talking about it. Denise is one of our viewers. And I said, oh, shoot, what was it? I lost my thought now. I'm sorry. I have to I said, I wonder, let's say that we are the millennial generation children, that we're born to the people who are in the millennial generation while Christ is ruling. Why would they hide it from us? Why would they not tell us that it was the millennial reign? Because some believe, okay, you have Revelation, then you have the millennial reign on earth, and then you have Satan gets out for a short time. So it's two kind of battles between Christ and Satan. The first battle is Revelation in the end days, when he puts him, when he gets jailed, and then he comes out. Now some theologies look at that as two different events, okay? So again, a little background for you guys, because I hate to just jump into things in the middle of them, but I do believe this is something to watch, as the LDS Church, and their books have a lot in common. And I did a video about how it kind of talks about parallel universes and dimensions, and about how a lot of us had NDEs. That's something we all have in common, is many of us had near-death experiences. And lately I just keep wondering, did we die? Like, are we each in our own little universe now? And we have to learn how to transition and move forward. And we're here being refined, almost like purgatory. There's a lot to get into there. But where's the proof that my dream encounter was real? I was reading this the other day and I was shook, and I'm very rarely shook. So if you don't remember what I said about the dream, go back and listen again. I talk about how the one entity entered, touched my hand, and I said, oh my God, you're cold, and I didn't want him touching me. And he said, that's because I'm of the fallen. Now, here we go. The Lord called upon one of the older angels, terrible and menacing. Now, of course, a human is frightened, even if it's one of God's holy angels. They're menacing to us, just their presence, okay? That's something to remember. If you get a feeling We've been taught to kind of ignore our gut instincts, but right now, you really need to be relying on those, because not everyone walking about is of mankind. And I know that gets into woo-woo territory, but here's the proof. I did not read this until the other day, and this happened to me in 2018, 2017. The Lord called upon one of the older angels, terrible and menacing, and placed him by me, in appearance white as snow, and his hands like ice, having the appearance of great frost, and he froze my face because I could not endure the terror of the Lord. Just as it is not possible to endure a stove's fire, and the sun's heat, and the frost of the air. And the Lord said to me, Enoch, if your face be not frozen here, no man will be able to behold your face. It's very possible. Again, this is Enoch. Did this angel fall after this? Because you have to look at it in chronological order. Allegedly, again, we're looking at two kingdoms, a counterfeit, a real one. We're looking at possibly two realms, okay? Heaven and hell, which are side by side, and they are a state of mind. If you get your frequency of your body and your mind and your heart all in alignment, and they get higher than the demonic frequency, you will indeed reside in heaven. The moment your thoughts plummet, you are in Hades. Okay, now again, this is a little bit of an esoteric way of explaining something to you, okay? So I don't know. I'm going to do more reading. I don't know if this angel is still of the Lord's. I don't know if it fell in the second incursion. I have no idea. All I know is that I did not want the thing around me or touching me or any of that, okay? And it obviously was some type of real experience. Now, was it man? Was it mankind messing with me? That would be very hard to orchestrate all of that. Mankind is not very organized. Most of us can't even go to a morning meeting at work without it ending in kind of some type of disarray. And you know this as well as I do. We're not always good at teamwork in that way, as far as being communicative with each other and the whole bit. So I don't know. All I know is that to me, when I read that, for the last 5 years, I've been wondering, am I going crazy? Is this just a matter of perspective? Is this because of the trauma I went through? That these things are looking backwards to me, and that they are happening this way, and that people are doing strange things around me, and I keep running into all these non-people individuals, non-human individuals. And I'm not going to say I see monsters or anything like, it's not like that. You just know. They look like us, mostly. They walk and talk like us, kinda. There's just something off. There's just something not right. And if you pay attention to your gut, you'll get those shivers on your arms and the back of your neck and all of that. Great light. Not sure what that means. Oh, there goes my other senior dog now. I'm sorry, guys, to keep getting up and down like this, but he is missing axle pretty bad. And I thought he was on his way out. I thought he was going to pass very soon, and he still might. He is not in the best health. It's been a lot of strange years for us, and I do suspect they've dealt with some abuse when I've not been awake or around in the room. And so that is definitely a concern of mine. Now, here's the thing. A lot of you know, and this, we build here. Each video builds on the previous video. We are going to get into, again, the eclipses, because it's coming time for the next one. Again, we were one of the first channels to cover that, dealing with a possibility of some type of spiritual rapture. People thought I was crazy when I was the only one talking about it. But again, finally, I'm not the only one talking about this. After this experience, And then after the trip to Florida and when I come home, my whole family was different. The whole family. And I hadn't fallen yet. I hadn't been tempted yet, and I hadn't failed the test. So a mother, and guys, I don't mean to exclude you, but please just, sometimes there's a point to just listen, right? Listen and learn. And when the men are speaking about manly things, I will sit and listen. But a woman knows her husband, knows the man she's lived with most of her life at this point, over half of her life. And she knows her children. They've done tests where they've blindfolded women and put babies in front of them. And just by smell, the women know which baby is theirs. My family smells different. They eat different. They act and behave different. They have moments of total peculiarity. And at first, I attributed that to possibly being some type of spiritual rapture and something else entering their bodies. But we might just have like a mass infestation, and maybe they're still in there and they just have really bad attachments. However, I will also add, I believe this has a lot to do with bloodlines. And I think I'm not a doctor. None of this is medical advice in any way, shape, or form. This is a theory I have from a spiritual aspect. I don't think the CV tests were ever about testing for that V. If you look into it, remember Maury Povich? Anyone grow up with their parent, those commercials? And he's not the daddy, and the DNA test proves it. Again, just look at the images you are shown. The images look the same as the images for a DNA test. Right before all this stuff happened, again, I did a video. I can show you the links for this as well, because the articles are still out there. In fact, the video still might be on this channel way back. Before CV started, probably the spring of 2019, they released in public on like mainstream media, they released an announcement telling the U.S. military not to participate in any DNA testing from that time on. I think they're looking for a very specific group. And just remember that when you have somebody's DNA, you can make a designer V just for that person so it affects nobody else. That's real science. You can go look it up. Again, this is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor or professional. Always seek that type of counsel from your chosen expert or professional. Now that that's out of the way. All of this ties together. All of the theories we've talked about, every topic we've covered, and even getting into this woo-woo type of area, that to me proves that I was not dreaming, that it was an actual event, along with, like I said, ladies waking up in a certain monthly apparatus being mysteriously just gone. So yeah, when I read that one verse, I was kind of shook. I also found a verse in the Essene Gospel of Peace, and I think I will make a... Thank you, I appreciate that. That helps, it does. And I hope you are blessed, and I hope that if your instincts alert you to anything out there, guys, that you listen to them. I want to cover 2 more things, and then I'll let you run, and I'll run. The first thing is my fibro. It is very peculiar the way it operates. The medication I'm on is just for fibro. I guess I was one of the first people to take it. It's one of the last... I'm on 2 medications now, and this is one of the last ones. It's not a psychotropic drug. Has nothing to do with that. It makes me less sensitive to pain. It kind of turns my pain receptors down. And I still feel quite a lot of pain, which is ridiculous. I have the constitution of an elephant. But I will tell you that when spiritual shenanigans are going on around me, my body will physically give me clues. I'm not going to tell you what those are, because again, I know I have enemies who monitor the channel and all that stuff, and they don't seem to get it yet. There are certain things I will say out loud in prayer in a house by myself, just as a test to see if I'm being monitored, because they are arrogant. They cannot resist bragging to you, even if they don't tell you outright. I talked about eggplant one day. Somebody come home that evening, talked about eggplant out of the blue. Never happens before. We don't eat it. It's not a thing that person eats. But the day I sent an email about it and talked about it, it had to be brought up. They let you know. Do you think painkillers affect your psychic ability? Absolutely. I'll do another video. I did one about gateways and what is truly meant by a gateway drug, how I translate that. That has something to do with some of my testimony. But please understand that at this point, I had not sinned yet. I had not fallen yet. And I was not on any, I don't want to say I wasn't on anything. Hold, please. I was not doing any fancy street drugs, and I was not on, what is the word I'm looking for? I was not on like a morphine or anything like that. Again, the medication I take has to do with pain receptors. It's not a narcotic. It's not a painkiller traditionally. But yes, I do believe that painkillers, what is meant by gateway drug is it opens a gateway inside of you and can let things in. They say quote unquote personal demons. I don't care if how you guys, whatever you relate to, right? Whatever words you want to use, that's fine with me. We'll call them quote unquote demons. And I do believe in unclean spirits. They have access to you then. They have some type of legal entry, because sinning means to go against nature. If you are doing something with your body that goes against nature, because to transgress, to go backwards, to go against, okay? Go against what? What do you sin against? You don't sin against God. Well, you do sin against God. Again, these preachers, we got to stop listening to false teachers. Like they have no clue. It's all on a superficial level. And these people want to pat themselves on the back. And I see it all over the comment section. Nothing but talking about other people. If you worry about yourself and you refine yourself while being in service to others and doing all things from love, it doesn't matter what old law there is or even what commandment there is. If you're doing all things from love, you can't go wrong. That was Christ's only law. And that's what the entire Sermon on the Mount is about doing all things from love. Love above all things. So if you think of the hierarchy again, mind is literally over matter. Your mind controls your own matter, your own body. Okay? Love above all things. Again, it's a double entendre. If you do all things from love, and then love above all things, okay? At the top, above everything else. It's one law Christ gave. But anyway, it does affect you, but not in the ways people might think. And I'm not going to lie, there are certain things that are called drugs today that I don't believe are drugs. I think, how to say this? There are certain things that open you up and they want you opened up, because right now they are literally wanting to get people with demons. And I've said this for a long time. This has been the goal for the last 4 years. It's why they're isolating people. It's why they're secluding people, because most people today are not strong. And if you isolate them and take them away from their circle or the pack, they will fall. And when they fall, they are giving legal right to a demon to enter their domain. And what is your domain? It is your vessel. It is your body. Okay? Sin, and again, people hate this word. Sin means to transgress, to go against nature. What kind of nature? To go against the nature of a being, of a thing. What is God? God is love. What else is God? The creator. Creator of what? Creator of nature. What is nature? How do we explain it? Through science. True science. And what is that? The fingerprints of God. And nature is the quote-unquote law of God. Of the creator. It is life. And if you go against life, with your body, bad things can happen. For me, I don't know why I would not recommend anyone else walking my path. For me, God has blessed me. I have seen things that I would never have recognized otherwise. I believe that was totally to bring it to other people. You are not meant to keep these things to yourself. And yes, some people have told me, certain things are just between you and God. Yeah, certain things are, because God wants you to know that God is always working, that he's all about your well-being. He, she is all about our well-being. The true creator, the creator of life, love, the maker, okay, is the creator of life, is love. And he created us not to castigate us and not to have somebody to serve him. He created us to have a family and to have that someone to share that love with. The people that tell you different want to enslave you. They want you to hate God, and they want people right now especially, they want you blaspheming God. Watch out for anyone tempting you to use anything, any substance at this time. Watch out for people tempting you to maybe go back to some old ways or backslide. Okay? They know what they're doing. Or at least the beings attached to them know. I haven't figured that part out yet. I don't know I don't know what we're dealing with, but I know that Christ was a pacifist and he did no physical harm to anybody, and neither should we. Okay? That is not the answer to this problem. The answer to this problem has been, will always be, and remains working that inner work in yourself, allowing God to refine you. People say, what is suffering for? It is so you appreciate love. It's that simple. What is evil for? So you know goodness when you see it. What is disregard for? So that when somebody comes along and they treat you right and they love you, you know that. This is all to bring us to God as a family and as more of equals and not as just automatons. So there are parts I agree with in the Catholic Church. There are parts I agree with actually in the Mormon books that I've read. There are parts that I agree with Islam, because again, we're being propaganda runs rife in America. They want us to hate. They want, and that's the last thing I'll tell you in this video. The name of the game also is, if all those other things fail, it's to incite us to violence. Why? That's a two-pronged answer. If they incite us to violence, number one, we get rid of each other, okay? And the sooner somebody passes, the sooner their soul may or may not, go where it needs to go. They're causing all this division, even big YouTubers who might seem like they're on the good side. It's all about division. They want us to literally fight each other. They're trying to see what it will take to bring us to blows. And they know how we feel about children. So that's what they're pushing, is the harming of children. Because if you have a weapon in your house, you are giving legal right to the spirit of violence to enter your house. And remember, not everything is a weapon. Sometimes they're simply tools. But they can double as some type of protection, okay? My dogs are my friends, but they are also my protection. All right? You see what I mean there? You see what I'm trying to do? Jesus Christ was a pacifist. If they can incite us to violence, they have legal rights then to be violent with us. Do you see how this works? If you live by the sword, you shall die by the sword. I'm not going to get into that type of theology in this video on this channel at this time. We have touched on it before. Christ is a pacifist. This is one thing I will get angry about, and I don't personally care if other people want to call me rude. I don't personally care if they want to make videos about it. I don't personally care if they want to unsub for it. Christ is a pacifist, and anyone who says otherwise does not know Christ. How does he divide? With a sword. What is the sword, and how is that defined in Scripture? It is the sword of the Spirit. Well, what is the sword of the Spirit? It is the word of truth. What delivers the word? Your tongue. Your tongue is your sword of the Spirit to deliver the truth. Christ came to deliver truth. You have to know when the Bible is being spiritual and metaphorical, allegorical and parabolic, or if it's being materialistically literal. And if you don't understand any of the terminology that I use, I will be more than happy to use different terminology or maybe explain it in a different way. Because again, I'm here to learn and to share. So please, I need to learn new things. I know nothing the more I read, but I know Christ, and I'm not going to allow people to push the agenda that he is wicked or violent. And again, maybe you're probably a lot younger than me. I've done deep etymological digs into this. Etymology is the study of the history of a word, okay? You have to go back to the Greek in New Testament. You do not go to Hebrew. And I am teaching myself Latin. So please, if you want to debate, I'm more than happy to. But you should know who you're going to debate and the topic of which you're going to debate about, because you might not be in the proper lane. And I might not be. Maybe you're a teacher and you know more than me. I am learning Latin. I pray and I'll do the rosary in Latin, and I know how people feel about the rosary. Again, I'm not going to fight people on that. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be very honest with you. You don't know what you're talking about. And when you speak of Christ and you speak untruths about him, nothing good is going to come from that. Truth is not in English. I'm not these are very, very base. And by base, when I say that, it's not a good thing. That's a very lower level, superficial way of looking at things. And again, this channel probably just isn't for you. Okay? Christ never said there was no Greek. I don't know where you heard that or what you're reading. I don't know if you're using a Strong's Concordance, but I do. I know Latin. Latin is where we get most of our medical terminology. It's how the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom are named in Latin. You have to go to Latin and Greek for New Testament. Did Christ speak Aramaic? Absolutely. But he didn't write the New Testament. That was written in Greek. I don't know how many times these are base level arguments. And again, maybe this channel is just more advanced than, and again, I'm not better than anybody. I am at a certain point in this journey. All you guys are at a different point in your journey. If I'm ahead of you in the journey, I'm more than happy to turn around on the path and reach a hand back. But I'm not going to go backwards just to please other people or to agree with them and to maybe keep subs or whatever. I don't do that. It's, and how one feels. No, it's not about feelings. No, it's really not about feelings. It's about facts. When you want to talk about history, okay? Now, if you want to get into like the esoteric angle of stuff and you want to talk about maybe a more Gnostic or spiritual or mystic stuff, I'm your girl. We can get into that angle. Yeah, it's not about feelings. When you're talking about facts, like words are facts. We have a history, and most people don't understand this. You have a lot of armchair scholars on YouTube. I'm a basic layman, and I have the ecclesiastical history of the church sitting in front of me. I can flip through it and tell you the year that a certain doctrine was created and why it was created and what scripture it's based upon. So again, if you're going to enter a debate, make sure you're in the right class and make sure you're in the right lane. I would never, for example, try to debate like Jung on psychology because I've barely even read his books, right? and he's not alive anymore, but I've barely read his books. He is a scholar. He is a scholar of psychiatry. See, I don't agree with your theology, and I'm never like that's a stopping point for me. I'm not that person who says there is no evil, there is no good, there's only experience. Tell that to the women. Tell that to the women who are violated and taken against their will every day. You tell them there's no good and no evil, and then we'll talk. Because I've ate people who say things like that for breakfast in emails. I don't go for that on this channel. There absolutely is evil. I'm not going to lie. There is debate, obviously, or you wouldn't see people having debates. Truth is truth. You cannot change it. You cannot bend truth to match your perspective of reality. Like, there's too many people trying to do that. You cannot bend, maybe you can bend your perspective, and even maybe you'll learn how to transmute your own matter, your own body. Oh my gosh, we have one of these people who thinks they're a wordsmith because spell means spell. And yes, I looked at stuff like that 20 years ago. Again, this might not be the channel for you. And I'm done responding to you, to be honest. You don't sound wise when you talk like that. I don't know why young people think, oh, there is no good, there is no evil, only experience. You don't sound enlightened. You sound ignorant. And, you know, I know that there's evil because I've dealt with it. I've been violated more than once against my will. And I to this day, I don't blame man, I blame evil. I told myself what words mean. See, you can go live that reality, as far as I'm concerned, in a white jacket, in a room with rubber walls. Because next you're going to be telling me that tree over there isn't a tree, it's a spaceship. No, I don't play that game. Exactly. The man who says he is wise is indeed foolish to God. And let me tell you, the more I read, the less I actually know. The more I learn, the more I need to learn, right? But when we're talking spiritual, I know Jesus Christ, and I do get upset when people try to tell me that Christ was violent, or he was a violent man, or that he said things we don't know if he said or not. And for Christ to say there is no Greek, like, that doesn't even make sense. It's two different time periods. Like, I don't know. Again, you're thinking you're poetic, and I'm just not doing this. But you guys see where the dream led me and the verse that it led me to. So the next things we're going to be leading into after this then is we're going to talk about the two eclipses. We'll go over briefly what happened with the last one. We will do the maps. I have tons of maps, literal and virtual, digital. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the history of eclipses and what people thought of them then. And no, I'm not translating. Oh my gosh. Just like the word canine means a four-legged furry animal. Okay? A dog would never be a cat, and a cat would never be a dog. I'm not arguing semantics with you. I'm not English, and that's fine too. Again, maybe you're on the wrong channel. And that's all I'm saying. So the next thing this segues into is the eclipses. And there are a couple other areas, like woo-woo areas, that I think we're going to discuss. Okay. Yeah, maybe I should look up schematic and map again. I know schematic is like a template, basically. So I guess it would be different than a map. I don't know. I'm super interested in that. Can you I hope your link is on your YouTube channel. I'll just go see if I can find it over there. Because, yeah, that's super interesting. And if you've already done that part of the job, maybe we could collaborate or share information. Thank you for being here. I love you guys so much. Those of you who do watch this video, thank you for all your prayers. Please keep praying. Please keep us in your prayers. I love you guys.